Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Janine Samuels.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, postponed elections, drive-through testing, and restricted airports, those are just a few of the latest changes dealing with the COVID-19 outbreak. This morning, Governor Larry Hogan outlined the measures Maryland is taking to combat the coronavirus.
It endanger public health to allow thousands of people to assemble in places like schools and senior centers, which are already closed under the state of emergency.
You can add Maryland's primary elections to things delayed or canceled thanks to the state of emergency caused by the coronavirus outbreak. The primaries will now be held on June 2nd instead of April 28th. Early voting will take place from May 21st through the 28th. Meanwhile, the special election for the congressional seat held by the late Elijah Cummings will be held using mail-in absentee ballots only. To date, there are 57 COVID-19 cases in the state. The virus has led to the temporary closures of casinos, movie theaters, gyms, bars, and restaurants. If you want to go out and eat, it has to be carry-out, delivery, or drive-through only. And soon, food may not be the only thing that you can get at a drive-through. To expand access to COVID-19 testing, the governor says that he wants to close all vehicle emission stations and convert them into drive-through testing facilities. He says that way it will lessen exposure to both patients and healthcare professionals.
Right now, there are not enough tests, and only the people that really have that we need to test need to get their tests. Some states have opened up testing facilities with no ability whatsoever to do the tests. They have drive-throughs that were overloaded with thousands of people, and they have no ability to do the test. We do not want to be in that kind of a situation. So we're working together to make sure we can get people tested, but that we can actually get a result. We don't want people lined up, jamming in places to get a test that they can't get or that we can't process.
The governor is also imposing strict restrictions on who can enter BWI Marshall Airport.
We are taking immediate steps to enact increased social distancing and are discouraging anyone from entering the terminal unless they are a traveling passenger or reporting to a job.
Hogan says since air traffic has basically come to a halt, most of the new COVID-19 cases are coming from community-based exposure. He says he's hoping these austere measures help flatten the curve of new cases. Meantime, Hogan says that he will also enact measures to use cashless tolls throughout the state, decrease MARC train service by 50%, decrease hours at MVA stations, and requests that the federal deadline for real ID compliance be extended.
Prince George's County has partnered with the Capital Area Food Bank to host 3 pop-up food pantries for those in need. They are located in Greenbelt, Camp Springs, and Largo, and that's where we find Byron Scott.
Well, this is going to be going on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We are in the parking lot near the Giant here in Largo, and you can see if we can flip around here. Many cars here are lined up. They're going to be driving by that tent and picking up a box of food. Also, if we could stop and just pan over here a little bit, there are people also standing in the parking lot. They too are waiting there. The cars are parked here. They're getting a box of non-perishable items. Now, the reason they're holding this is because obviously the impact of the coronavirus, many people can't find food, some can't afford it, so they come here and get non-perishable items. Now, we did talk to some people here today, and here's what they told us.
I'm out here today to get items for myself as well as my senior citizen neighbor. She can't get out, so I'm going to share what I have with her.
Each box is designed with a multiple of different items, canned, non-perishables, cereals, things of that nature. Each box will feed a family of 4 for about 4 or 5 days as supplemental food.
Is it hard finding items?
Yes.
Describe what it's been like for you.
There's been long lines and not a lot of meat and water and paper products.
So you find it hard to find items?
Very hard. As a matter of fact, I went to one store to get a case of water, and it took me 2 hours and 45 minutes to get to the cashier.
We're doing everything that we can, and we need more volunteers to put together more boxes. We have 3 shifts a day. You can go to www.capitalareafoodbank.org, go to our volunteer page, and sign up.
Again, this will be going on Tuesdays and Saturdays while supplies last, according to the food bank at here and 2 other locations in the county. In Largo, Byron Scott, CTV News.
Again, the pop-up food banks will operate Tuesday from 4 to 7 p.m. and Saturdays between 11 to 2 in the afternoon at the following locations: near the Giant at Campus Way South, 6000 Greenbelt Road in Greenbelt, and 7074 Allentown Road in Camp Springs. The White House Coronavirus Task Force has issued new guidelines to stop the spread of the virus. Residents are asked to avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people. You're also asked to avoid non-essential trips for the next 15 days. Officials are also urging the elderly to stay at home and for people to practice social distancing.
We're asking every American to partner with us in this effort to slow the spread of the virus, and especially to be mindful of seniors and others with serious underlying health conditions.
We hear every night and other areas of large gatherings. If we continue with that process, we will fail in containing this virus.
Don't get the attitude, well, I'm young, I'm invulnerable. You are, well, in some respects, you're certainly less vulnerable than I am. However, what you might inadvertently do, and I know you don't want to do that, you don't want to put your loved ones at risk, particularly the ones who are elderly and the ones who have compromised conditions.
And also at the White House, administrative officials are pushing for that. Just so that you know, more than 195,000 people have been affected and killed more than 98,000 so far worldwide. More than 80,000 people have recovered from the virus.
The White House is pushing for an $850 billion emergency economic rescue package for small businesses and taxpayers in response to COVID-19. If approved, it will also provide about $50 billion in aid to the airline industry. Earlier this month, Congress passed an $8.3 billion in emergency funding to help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
And these will be payments to small businesses. We've talked about loan guarantees to critical industries such as airlines and hotels. And we've also talked about a stimulus package to the American worker. You can think of this as something like business interruption payments for the American workers. We're looking at sending checks to Americans immediately. And what we've heard from hardworking Americans, many companies have now shut down, whether it's bars or restaurants. Americans need cash now, and the president wants to get cash now. And I mean now, in the next 2 weeks.